So, Ruth, would you like to facilitate his?
Oh, sure. Thank you. Yeah. Hello, everybody. I'm Ruth, and I'm very honored to be leading this circle. Thank you. So I'm going to put it so I can see everybody. Put you on gallery there. There we are. There, I can see everybody now. Hello, Rob, Mary, Renee, Vinay, and Edwin. Hi. So I'm sure you all got the gist of this facilitating. I'm not sure if you'd have done this before. I'm going to be listening to begin with, and I will keep track of the time, in theory. And I have these cute little signs that I put up if we're saying too much, I'll put a little sign up, or if the 4 minutes is up, I'll put a little, time sign up here. I'm going to put these little guiding words in our chats just to remind us if we can refrain. I forgot to put the word refrain there, but if we can refrain from asking questions, judging, detaching, diagnosing, advising, or sympathizing. Yeah? Any questions before we continue? Yes, Renee.
One, I want to apologize that I'm a little distracted, multitasking, at one of the downsides of Zoom. This room is being recorded. It's a question. Is this room being recorded? Because I see Edwin. Okay, okay, thank you.
Are you all right with that, Renee?
Yes, it just helps me to decide what I want to share.
Of course.
Oh, and I forgot to mention the topic. I just broadcasted. The question is, what are your top takeaways from the presentations today? And we have 4-minute turns. Oh, forgot that part.
Do I pop it in the chat there?
Yeah, I put it in.
All right, cool. Okay, who would like to speak for about 4 minutes, and I will do my best to listen. And what I'll do as a listener, I'm going to repeat back what I heard, how I heard it. And then after the end of the 4 minutes, if you do feel heard, feel free to say, I feel heard, or I feel fully heard. Yeah, so anybody volunteering to be the first speaker? I'm going to volunteer Rob. Rob, would you be kind enough to be the first speaker?
Is that because I have speaker in my title still?
It may be.
Yes, I would be happy to speak. Who is going to listen?
I'll be listening. Rob.
You'll be listening. Okay, great. Well, first, hi everybody. Good to meet you. One of the authors from today, and I think my takeaways, I mean, it's really impressive. This series has like 40 different authors participating, and that there is so much work that's being done to help people understand empathy. I think that's the I don't know, it's humbling, and there's a sense of community. I'll pause if you want to.
Yes, thank you. What I hear Rob express is that he says hello to everybody and pleased to meet us. And he was saying how he's one of the speakers here today. And his takeaways, he's very impressed. 40 different authors have gathered together. And the fact that there's so much being done to help everybody in this arena of empathy.
Yes, I feel heard. And so I don't have any one particular, I mean, different people's books struck me, and stories. I appreciated the sharing and the depth that Nicole Price and Ian Roberts went into in particular. It was really exciting to have Judith Orloff here her work has been formative for many people and a great guide. And I pre-ordered her book on Amazon during her talk, as I'm sure many have. And I liked all the different things that she's kind of addressing and explaining around empathy. I think things like that guide is necessary.
So yeah, you didn't really have one particular author that jumps out at you. And you did mention some names. I'm not quite sure if I get them all, Rob, but you mentioned Nicole. Was it Ian?
Ian, yep.
Oh, good, good. And Judith Orlov. And you found it all very informative. And you were so excited that you went ahead and pre-ordered Judith Orlov's book. You liked all the different things that were being addressed by all the different authors.
Yeah, and I think the other thing that I find inspiring about opportunities like this for us all to get together is it is encouraging to know that we are all working to make a difference in the world, to make the world a better place. And the way I think about it, it's like we're all pushing the wave and doing it in our own ways. We all have a slightly different angle or bent, but it's going to take all of us if we want to create the world that we hope to see.
So wonderful. What I hear is that, the other thing that you found inspiring, Rob, um, it's so encouraging that so many people want to make the world a better place and want to improve the world. And you mentioned the world, I think you mentioned the word pulsing, like this wave of doing this. And you're going to take it all in. And
Yes.
yes, wonderful. And our time is up, Rob.
And I feel heard. Thank you. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you. So as a listener, I'm going to speak and I'm going to choose my listener. Edwin, would you be my
Yes.
listener?
Listening.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you. Yeah, for me, I haven't written any books on empathy. I, having joined Edwin's wonderful empathy circles, I think it's possible I might be under the category of being empathic, but I think that word itself needs a lot of exploration.
You haven't written books, but you've been involved in the empathy work that we've been doing with the Empathy Circle training and the summit, and that something needs explanation. You feel like you're an empath or empathic, and that needs explanation.
But the words of wisdom I heard today really, after hearing it's Ian's speech, the chap who's involved, with help, the superintendent for about 33,000 students. Oh my gosh. I couldn't imagine that responsibility of feeling responsible for, introducing that many people in one go to this world of, feeling from the heart.
So you're really impressed with Ian's work with 33,000 students and bringing this work to them.
And, he was saying, like, just today, somebody got, shot in his school, and yet he still had the courage to come here. I mean, that stability. He knows how to stand on his 2 feet, and he's written a book on empathy, and he's expressed such vulnerability and how he's learned from this, and it's very inspiring.
Yeah, it's very inspiring that he has sort of the groundedness to be able to come here today after a shooting in one of the schools, and so I'm just really impressed by that.
Absolutely, and there wasn't a single one of the speakers that didn't inspire me today. It's like it's just really inspiring. I'm very grateful for all the speakers. I truly am. And everybody that shows up for these summits. It's a wonderful opportunity to get the movement going. And yeah,
you're really excited about getting the movement going and just inspired by all the speakers and the community. And very moved by it. And
Yeah, 100%. I feel fully heard. Thank you.
okay, feeling heard. I'll speak to Mary.
Hi.
Yeah, and I feel a little bit distracted because I'm keeping my eye on all the different, at the control center, right? There's all these little knobs, things going on, and not only, speaking, but also, kind of the overview. And so my attention gets kind of, torn a little bit.
So you're feeling a little bit torn by all the distractions that you have in front of you, because this was an exciting, sorry.
Yeah, it's a lot
Yeah.
to produce. The production is a lot. It takes a whole team, and I think we could even use more people on the team because there's so many different things that have to be watched that you don't know, that are in the background.
Yeah, so you feel like you need some more people on the team because there's a lot going on in the background. That
Yeah, and I'm finding that just sharing sort of the stresses and strains, a little bit of the anxiety, it's kind of created space for the kind of this flood of warmth and emotions, almost like a teariness of just, hey, all this came together, all these people that came together, and it has a real sort of real heartwarming, you know, feel warm, just that there's this whole community here.
So in the end, all this excitement, all this tension is actually culminated in a warm, empathic, can I say, feeling that you have?
Yeah, it's almost like this layer of stress, kind of sharing the stress kind of relieves it, and then I can go to the next level, which is this level of warmth.
So the sharing of all the stress has allowed you to go to the next level of feeling the warmth.
Yeah, and that's what I love about the center, because behind me is the center where I am right now in Santa Barbara. So we have people coming and doing in-person work, workshops, and it really, in terms of creating community, it really adds a whole level for people to be together, to eat together, you do a workshop and you go hang out, together a little bit. And so I'm just excited about the about that next level.
So you're sharing about how excited you are about the center itself, how you can, meet people and people can share and discover empathy, as well as, sit and have a meal together and really enjoy the atmosphere and the environment.
Okay, I feel fully heard. Yeah, thank you. Very heard.
You're welcome. Okay, I gotta pick someone. Rob?
Mary, I'm listening.
Okay. So yeah, so today I found it to be very very enlightening, I guess is a good word.
You
Enlightening. Yeah.
yeah, I was gonna say you found today enlightening.
Yeah, mostly because of the history of all of this, the authors is just goes way back, and I had no idea who these people were. And so I'm thrilled and excited that that I can read all these books and take this all in. So
The history of all the authors and how far back it goes, you weren't aware of that before, so you're thrilled with that. And I'll paraphrase, your reading list has grown as a
yeah,
result.
yeah. So and I mean, I'm definitely going to write my own book. It's just, sitting down to put it all together. But I think my title's going to be, it's about all of us. I don't know if that's whatever. It might
So
change.
you're gonna sit down to write your own book, and it's the title is It's About All of Us.
Yeah. Because, okay, so this is what I was thinking about. Empathy starts with us, right? I mean, of course it starts when we're babies and we're born. But to get where we are here, like with all the the issues within institutions and when we grow up and become adults and we're dealing with costs and cost effectiveness and blah, blah, blah. That I think if we're going to hold on to empathy, you know, as the saving, the lifeline, the rope, like don't let go of the rope, you know, and don't drown. It's going to have to start with us. So start with how we look after ourselves and how we survive within those environments and what we do and what we choose to do in those environments.
Okay, so your premise is that empathy starts with each one of us, and if we're going to hold on to empathy and connect, it really is up to each one of us to do that. And I lost the last couple of words.
Yeah, for us to, well, okay. Well, it starts with us. So, I mean, it can start with us. So if we lose our empathy, then if we decide to give up our empathy for, say, a career or company, then that's it, right? So, but like, we can choose the empathy. So it literally starts with us. Like it starts with each one of us making that decision that I choose empathy over, you know, the money.
Yeah, so the empathy really begins with us, and it's a choice that we make. Even if we choose to go into a corporate path, we can make the choice of whether we're going to be empathetic or not, or how we're going to show up. And it's something that starts with each one of us individually.
And I guess what I was trying to get at is that self-empathy, that we need to have empathy for ourselves first.
Okay. Oh, so it starts with us, meaning self-empathy,
Right.
and understanding yourself.
Right. That's what I was trying to get at. Yeah.
We're workshopping a book on during a empathy circle. Hi, Roger. We're recording this circle, so hopefully you're okay with that. Good. Awesome. And welcome to the group. Ruth is our facilitator, but sorry, Ruth, I had the floor, so I just jumped in. Renee, you've been here for a bit. Are you in a position where you can listen? Okay. I already went and shared some of my thoughts, but I'll just build a little bit further and acknowledge what Edwin was sharing. First, I'll acknowledge what Edwin was sharing about the stress and the behind the scenes of trying to put something on, and for it to come off, like, I thought it was seamless. You know, everybody kept to time. You know, I think the speakers were respectful of the amount of time generally, and when you said 1 minute left, we, you know, hustled to finish up on time, and we finished on time. And there's like a huge number of people that have signed up for this too. I've noticed on LinkedIn, which is really incredible. So congratulations for that. But yeah, take a moment to absorb, and I'll pause.
So I'm hearing you say that there's some celebration to Edwin about the organizing of an event that you were participating in. So sort of from an insider point of view, and recognizing everything that has gone into creating an event that looks to participants as smooth and flowing. And yeah, and your insider point of view and some celebration over that. Did I land to that?
I feel heard. And then to Mary, to your point, and just picking up on the self-empathy, my perception, I've started writing a little bit about it in my newsletter and on social posts. I think that's a newer area that people are starting to realize, like, oh, wait a minute, I need to have empathy with myself before I do this with other.
Is listening and typing and all at the same time. So I became very overwhelmed. I became very overwhelmed.
You became very overwhelmed. You want to share this with a friend.
I became overwhelmed by wanting to listen and absorb everything, and at the same time trying to reach out to a friend on online to say, "Oh my gosh, you got to jump on," and I wasn't reaching her, and so I was like trying to save everything in the chat, and so I was multitasking, which just totally overwhelmed me.
You're multitasking and it
Yeah.
felt overwhelmed.
Oh boy, as always, yes. And then I guess the last takeaway I really had, and Mary has also just inspired me, which is why I moved away from Rob a little bit, in that is that I've been running an empathy cafe for 3 years since the pandemic. And I have been encouraged by participants to write a workbook. And it is an embodied expressive art, a creative inquiry, an embodied creative inquiry, empathy cafe. And it uses the principles of, it's based in NVC and my work as an expressive arts therapist and an occupational therapist in mental health for many years. And I'm inspired, it'll be a workbook. And I have it already written because I've written down for the last 3 years, it's weekly. And I've written down everything that we've done. So it's just a matter of putting it together. And I'm very intrigued by the concept of I wrote it down, a workshopping a book, or a book workshop. I've never heard of that concept, but it sounds collaborative and supportive. Pause.
You
Thank you. Thank you so much. I feel heard.
Okay, so I guess it's my turn. I'd like to pick Edwin.
Okay, just a heads up, my internet is unstable, so if I drop out, someone will have to pick up. So, okay, listening,
Okay.
Roger.
Thank you for being my listener, Edwin.
I'm here in gratitude that I'm your listener.
My son's name is Edwin. So I feel really gravitation toward this name.
You're feeling some gravitation to the name, towards the name Edwin, because your son has that name too.
And I really want to impart on this empathy wisdom to him at the age of 7.
And you'd like to pass on this empathy work, wisdom to him, and he's only age 7.
It's only because I think this is the most important skill any human being needs in their entire life.
And it sounds like you're convinced that this is the most important skill that anyone needs, most important skill that anyone needs in their life. And you'd like to pass that on to your son.
That this is the secret to happiness, to justice, to fairness, to respect, to anything that's good in this world.
And you're seeing it as the gateway to anything that's good in the world, less justice, respect, etc.
And then you are actually then, your head are actually then in the right place to learn, to innovate, to create, to do all those wonderful things, learn math, create art, engineering, whatever else you like to do. That's how you can achieve your full potential, by learning empathy
Yeah, so
first.
you're seeing that empathy is sort of this foundational way of being that really leads to learning and growth and fulfilling your full potential.
Yes, because I want to fulfill my own full potential.
And you're wanting to fulfill your potential too.
That's why I also want everybody to fulfill their own potential.
And it's like you not only do you want to fulfill your own potential, but everybody in the world should fulfill their potential.
And this world will then be such a better place then.
And I think I'm hearing that if everybody's empathic and is fulfilling their full potential, the world will be just this much better place.
Hopefully we can reach that one day.
And that's a vision of yours to reach that point.
And I do think having empathy circle in the classroom with the next generation might be the first step to do that.
And maybe you're seeing that this practice that we're doing, the empathy circle, would be a really good first step in schools as a way of moving towards that vision of yours.
So anything is possible. It's not too difficult at all.
Yeah, it's like everything's possible. It's all doable. We can do it.
Yes, I feel very hopeful. Thank you. I
Okay.
feel fully heard.
All right. Then I'll speak to Ruth.
I'm listening, Ed.
Yeah, I've been trying to start making the case that, as I did at the beginning of the summit, that the empathy circle, I think, is the core practice, foundational practice for the empathy movement.
So yeah, like you expressed at the beginning of the summit, you believe that the empathy circles is the core, it's the core practice of the movement.
Yeah, and you see, like even Rob's, presentation was like listening, active listening, I think was one of the gateways. And this is active listening. What we're doing is practicing that active listening in a group setting, which I think is the best way to practice it and learn it. And
what I hear, Edwin, is that even in Rob's presentation, the active listening was one of the headlines in his speech. And the empathy circles, that's one of the prime things we're doing is listening, is that active listening in a group setting.
yeah, because how else can you learn the active listening? You have to sort of practice it. And this is how we practice it. And with this basic practice, we do all kinds of conflict mediation, personal support. We go into the human-centered design, so it's really like Roger is saying, I see it, I'm totally there, that this is sort of the gateway, to this more empathic world.
Yeah, because how else can we learn, other than practicing this active listening? And this is how we practice the active listening, by practicing it.
Yeah, you got to practice it and spread it and be able to teach and facilitate like you're doing. You learn the facilitation. Now you can facilitate the circles. Yeah.
Yeah, and you also mentioned, the conflict mediation, human-centered design, human-centered design, gateway to this. And you also expressed how, I'm a part of this, by practicing this, facilitating such an empathy circle of this active listening.
Yeah. So in terms of Ian's speech, or not speech, but talk, I really see that as I'm gonna contact him and see if he's interested in getting it into his school district there, because if we could teach 30,000 students how to do the empathy circle, I think it would do a lot to improve the schools and really spread. I mean, it's a simple first step. It's
Yeah, so in relation to Ian's talk, you see that you're could make a really big, huge impact. Getting in touch with his school district and implementing it into the school system that he's involved with, and spreading the empathy movement. It's a really simple tool that can be implemented via these empathy circles.
yeah. I feel fully heard. Thanks, Ruth.
Great. Before I go any further, Edwin, have we got about another half an hour? Is that
Yeah,
about right?
about 35 minutes, I'd say.
Brill, thank you. Mary, would you be my listener?
Yes, I will.
Wonderful, thank you. Yeah, it is really, like Edwin was saying, and all of you have been saying it. You mentioned it, Roger. Teaching the children, introducing it to the children as part of the math, science. It's it's an imperative part of life, and being able to feel like other people can hear you, and that you can also be heard.
So what you're feeling is that that Roger really had a point about how teaching empathy really helps with that it's imperative to life for learning for children in their math and sciences. Yeah, so you feel very strongly about that.
And the act of being able to listen, if we can listen in an empathic way, that will also enhance the study of every other subject that we want to learn. So if we can, yeah.
And in any subject that we want to learn, that
I mean, it's especially vital to be able to listen to people that we feel in conflict with. And I'm gonna even dare to say, people that we may have a real distaste for, people that we really feel like they really rub us the wrong way, and that, we could just run a mile from them. I mean, being able to feel empathy for that individual, now you're talking, when you can truly sit with that other person and hear them, and that they feel heard.
yeah, so you really feel that being able to be empathic with a person that you rub up against, that you don't necessarily like, that to be able to feel heard, for that person to be able to feel heard, or for them to hear you is that's really fantastic.
Yeah, and I think that's where peace can grow in the world. That's where we're going to end wars, ultimately.
Yeah.
If we can all learn to truly hear each other, yeah, I like the word that Edwin used, a gateway. It's a gateway to greater things in the world.
So you're reflecting on what Edwin said about how it's a gateway, empathy is a gateway to a better world. And you can imagine that the world would be free of war, would be peaceful.
Yeah, and it's a far-fetched goal, peace in the world, but I think it's really imperative to practice, in these group settings, and it spreads, doesn't it? And I do believe I'm kind of I enjoy Star Trek, so I mean, there's going to be peace in the world.
So you're a peacemaker, and you would love for the world to be at peace. You love Star Trek, and you feel that you have hope. You have hope that empathy will be will be it, and that you find that empathy is important as an important key towards peace.
I feel fully heard. Thank you.
Welcome. Thank you. Can I get back to you, Rob, again? Sorry.
Sure.
I don't mean to, not picking on you or anything.
I'm listening.
So back to the self-empathy. Like I totally get what Ruth is talking about, and Edwin, and I mean everyone. I feel like when I first started the empathy circle, I was very much, and it's been the last year, full of just rage and anger about my workplace. So I've been working a lot on self-empathy around dealing with that and not self-destructing. And I found that when my first empathy circle, I couldn't even hear. I couldn't hear what anybody else was like. It was really hard for me to hear, because I think a part of me was still like, I need to be heard, like I was full of, just stuff that I needed to speak about. And Yeah, so I really appreciate, I feel a lot more like, I feel like I've really decompressed a lot. And
Let me just
yeah,
uh,
sorry.
restate. So you're connecting with what and appreciating what Ruth and Edwin were saying about self-empathy. And when you started the empathy circles about a year ago, you found that it was really hard for you to participate because you had a lot of anger around your workplace and you had to decompress over this past year and work through things because initially you weren't feeling like you had the opportunity to be heard, and that there was a lot that you wanted to say and needed to get out.
Yeah, there was, I mean, there was a lot going on during COVID, but just learning more and more and more about empathy. And so it wasn't let's just say it wasn't a very empathic environment. And yeah, I guess I was starting to lose empathy for myself. So coming to these circles was very, very humbling. And definitely feeling the community, feeling people connecting. It lightened my heart a lot. It made me feel more human.
So coming to the empathy circles made you feel more human, and it lightened your heart, lightened the load.
Yeah, definitely. And today it was amazing, like learning about the history of empathy and hearing everybody talk about their books is just amazing.
It was really amazing hearing about the history of empathy and hearing about everybody talking about their books.
Yeah, I like sharing their personal experiences, like how their book started. Like that was really cool. Like how, like what started people on their journeys was the struggle with empathy,
And in particular, hearing about this, what got people started on their journey and that struggle with empathy it was meaningful for you.
Yeah. Like pushing the clouds aside and letting the sun come in.
Pushing the clouds aside and letting the sun come in. It's a great analogy. 30 seconds.
Thanks, Rob.
You're welcome. Thank you, Mary. Roger, do you want to listen?
Of course.
And Renee needs to go. Thank you, Renee.
Thank you, Renee. Bye-bye.
It was really interesting when I think Slim was our first speaker. Hold on, see if I can lower this. And Slim was talking, and he was talking about his experience as a corporate consultant, which is what I do
Rob?
effectively. Yeah,
Sorry, did you speak up? Did you choose a listener? Did you choose?
Roger.
Oh, sorry. Got it. Cheers.
I'll start over. Now that I've got my computer adjusted and everything. So when Slim was talking, the first speaker today, and he was talking about his own experience consulting with corporate America and how the CEOs that he was counseling weren't open to listening and having empathy. I so related to that because that was like the frustration that I would run into. And so anyway, so I'll say that, let you restate that quickly.
Oh, you were frustrated just like Slim did.
Yeah. Yes. And so I had just yesterday, as I was preparing the slides for my talk, I often tell the story about one project in particular from 2011 where we were where the business director at the end of our presentation, he was like, well, I still don't understand. It was about Greek yogurt and why people would want to spend more money for Greek yogurt. And we have all of these reasons. And so we walked through all of it. We used the voice of the consumer, shared quotes, and the business director, who was the key stakeholder, he's like, oh, I still don't understand why they would pay more than $1 for a cup of yogurt.
You're working on a particular project, you always use that as an example. The business director just doesn't understand about something.
Right. And so I had judgment about him and I've always expressed it. And it was part of my frustration of like, why is he not getting this? What's getting in his way? So last night I went into our archives and dug up that report because I thought, oh, maybe there's a good slide or a photo I could use.
So you went back last night, dug up the report, and tried to find something useful.
Yes. And discovered that, oh, actually, the question that he asked, there was never a sentence that said the reason why people would spend more for $1 a cup of yogurt is this. And so it reframed his response for me and realizing like, oh, wow, I was being judgmental about him because I didn't feel like he was listening to me.
Through this experience, you found out why he didn't understand you.
Yes. So there was a lot of that kind of connection, I think, to what Mary was saying and others, and just shared experiences with other people. I mean, and Nicole, Maria all have very similar kind of Amy Wilson expressed frustration in the workplace.
There's a lot of people that express frustration in the workplace.
And that is part of what led them onto this journey to led them to write books and do the other work that they're doing.
And that's what that opened up for them to write books.
Yes, and I feel heard. Thank you.
No problem. So, Ruth, would you like to be my listener, please?
Yes, thank you, Roger. I'll be your listener.
So I live in Iowa, and the school shooting just yesterday, I think, was really something that resonated with me with one of the speakers today.
So you live in Iowa, and the school shooting that happened yesterday, it's really something that resonated with you.
Yeah, this time is a neighborhood school within reach, and a 17-year-old walked into the school, start shooting. The news reported a 6th grader died.
So yeah, in this neighborhood, there was a 17-year-old. The news stated there was a 17-year-old walked into the school and started shooting, and the news reported that a 6th grader had been wounded and killed.
When I see that story, I immediately felt this emotional rage. That shooter probably never knew this 6th grader. They don't even know each other.
Yeah, so from this story, you were aware of the emotional rage, and just thinking about the shooter walking into the school with this gun, didn't even know the 6th grader that he killed.
And this innocent victim just do what he's supposed to do, go to school. But end up with this tragedy that just so tragic, it's so infuriating for me.
And this innocent victim was doing exactly, what he or she was supposed to do. Going to school, and yeah, you're really aware of the rage within you around this incident.
And what's interesting is I started talking to my coworker about this because everybody has their opinions, and they want to express their feelings too.
And you were talking, what's interesting, you were talking to a co-worker about this, and opinions were shared and judgments were shared. And you're really aware that it's important that everybody expresses their point of view.
And we discuss and discuss and discuss. And through this discussion, I realized a different perspective as well. That maybe the school shooter was wronged in his life by somebody. He decided he wants to take his own life and do this monstrous crime. It's because he might be just so resentful to his parents or whoever he shoots. He wants revenge.
What I heard, Roger, and we do have 30 seconds left, that through talking to this other person, hearing their other, opinions and so forth, so through this different perspective, you yourself kind of were able to look at it from a different point of view as well. That maybe the school shooter was wronged in his life. And through this wronging, he chose this monstrous activity, this monstrous crime. And that, maybe he's so resentful against his own parents that maybe that was one of the reasons that this monstrous incident happened. And our time is.
And I believe the answer is not less gun, more gun, anything, is empathy in school.
And I think I heard you say, Roger, that you really believe that one of the answers truly is bringing empathy into these schools.
I feel fully heard. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Roger. School shootings certainly have a strong effect on anybody that's got a heart.
Who are you speaking to?
Oh, sorry, yes. Edwin, would you be my listener? Thank you.
Okay, you're saying yes, that these school shootings really impact people who have care.
Yeah. And they can trigger so many emotions, and
Yeah, a lot comes up for people, a lot of emotions when they hear about these shootings.
yeah. I know for me it's personal too, because I was a paramedic many years ago in a different country, and there was many different shootings that I went on. And as a paramedic, you go in and you do what you can to treat the injured, and then you go, you carry on, and you just go from one shooting to the next shooting to the next shooting. And it's really important to have, I'm going to pause there.
Yeah, so you're a paramedic and you would go to one shooting after the other, and to deal with this, you need a certain way.
Yeah, so I was going to say, it was so important. Like, one of the vital things was, you might say it was an empathy circle, what the supervisor, every so often, you would get us together, and of course you call it a debriefing, but it was a way for, way to talk about this and share emotions and carry on.
So it was one thing you would do is afterwards you would get together with your colleagues and you'd have discussion groups, and it would just be a way of sharing emotions, connecting, and way of coping, with coping.
Yeah, and carrying on. And this word debriefing, I mean, what we're doing now in an empathy circle, you know, it's an opportunity for people to get together and say whatever they want to say. It's a safe environment, or maybe not a safe environment, who knows? But generally speaking, I consider it a safe environment. And yeah, empathy circles, I think can do a lot in schools, out of schools, in business, in homes, in families. Yeah.
So a way of coping when you were as a paramedic, you'd have these group discussions with each other, and that was very helpful. And you're seeing how these empathy circles can also be very helpful in that same way in different contexts, schools, families, and other environments.
I feel fully heard. Thank you. And I think we've lost Roger.
Yeah, I
Hopefully.
didn't see anything from him. What happened? Maybe internet connection.
No, he
Um,
left a message. He
oh,
left a message in the chat. Yeah.
Oh, has
okay.
he? Oh, I missed that. Thank you.
Okay.
All right.
Thanks. I'll speak to you then, Mary.
Okay.
Mary. Yeah. Well, now that we have the Empathy Center here, we're starting to do our facilitator training in person. So we really want to scale up and have a group of trainers and build a whole, in-person community to scale up the movement.
So now that you have the Empathy Center, it's up and running, you're getting organized with in-person training, and trainers getting trained.
Yeah, and so, we're training people in Santa Barbara because most of our trainers are, in other parts of the country, Bay Area. And now we're, training people here. And I just imagine getting a whole, community here, and then we can kind of expand from here and, connect with the schools, take the empathy tent out to public spaces and really have this, have a physical location for this ongoing work.
So it's on the go. You're getting organized in Santa Barbara, with getting people trained and getting the center organized and having things set up with the empathy circles.
Mhm.
Yeah, so it's a
Yeah.
lot of work.
Yeah, it's a lot to do because it's not only just the empathy work, but all kinds of infrastructure. We're just having trees trimmed. We got gophers in this lawn. We're putting gopher traps out. We got mice. We put mouse traps out. The central plaza, we just plowed it up and planted grass seeds. So there's a lot of physical stuff besides, just talking about empathy. It's like, yeah, how do you take empathy into dealing with all these physical, uh, facility issues is another question.
So you're working really hard on buffing and shining up the empathy center so it's presentable and welcoming for people. And it's a lot of work, but you're doing it, getting through it, and
Yeah, but I think it'll be really good. It's I have a lot of hope. I guess it's hope that the in-person, like a school, a physical place where people are, is really going to help create this movement, scale it up.
looking forward to the schooling, that it's going to be able to be a really great training center for empathy. You're really looking forward to that,
Yeah.
working on getting people trained and getting that part going.
And I'm glad to be able to connect with Ruth and Rob and you, Mary. It's nice to connect with people around this and be, developing a community. So that feels really grateful for everyone's participation. Roger, too.
It's really nice to see you here too, Edwin. Sorry, I know we're not supposed to comment, but just to let you know. Yeah, I haven't seen you in these circles before. So, and so you're just really appreciative of connecting with everybody here. And it's really nice and
Yeah.
heartwarming.
Yeah, I feel heard.
I think we have about 6 minutes or so, or is it more, Edwin?
11. I was going to do about 11 at bottom of the hour.
All right. All right. So maybe one more, and then we can maybe have a popcorn chat. Thank you. All right.
Okay, so I picked somebody. Is that what we're still doing that? Yeah, okay. So Rob, let's go one more time.
Okay, third time's the charm.
Good time's a term. So I'm back on this. I'm back on this self-empathy thing again. So I drew a big heart. Yeah, it was really nice seeing Edwin here because I remember when I first did my first empathy circles, he was here and kind of like a guiding light, kind of just keeping things even keel. I don't think there was a lot of talk about the empathy center at that time. It was just the circles. So I was learning about the empathy circles. And
We'll pause while you
Right,
gather
yeah.
your thought, and I'll share back. You're glad to see Edwin here because you first saw him at I guess the early empathy circles that you went to a year ago, but he wasn't talking about the empathy center yet. So it's good to see him here and to hear more about the empathy center.
Yeah. And so, okay, so self-empathy for me, has been really, 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 really important, this past year. And it's hard. It's really tough when you've been in an environment that's very anti-empathic, very anti-empathic. I mean, sorry, when I go down that road, it's like going away from empathy. So I don't want to go down that road. I have to really keep to the aspects that the positive things that I learned from my experiences. Yeah, and self-empathy it's really important to acknowledge who you are. Acknowledge who you are and not let other people take that essence of you and dissolve it into like nothingness. It's important to keep who you are present with yourself and not get lost on a dark path or give up on yourself or on other people.
So with self-empathy, you're really working to stay focused on the positive because as you start to reflect it back to your prior work experience, it was so dark, and it takes you down a dark negative path. But instead, you're trying to focus on the positive and retain who you are and retain sight of who you are and what you're all about, and understanding that. Is that
Yeah,
accurate?
yeah, that's good. I think it's really important for all of us to do that, each of us, because sometimes when we become a part of a business, we can lose track of our individuality within an organization, whatever that organization is, depending on whether or not they allow you to be an individual.
And it's important for all of us to retain that with ourselves, within as we go into organizations, because sometimes the organizations can take that from us or request that we, and we may not request, isn't what you said, but to demand that they that we give that up.
Yeah, your individuality is like being like an army, you're not an individual, you're a pack.
Yeah.
Thank you. I feel fully heard.
To bring back a Star Trek reference, you get assimilated like the Borg.
Yeah. Oh God. Yes.
Come on, Rob, gotta stay on track.
Oh, she said she felt heard. That's in there. So
Good. That was good.
So Edwin, should we have one more?
Yeah, I think one more, and then we got 7 minutes or so.
okay, Ruth, I'll let you listen, please.
Yes, I would love to. Thank you, Rob.
Um, talk about the evils of corporate organizations. We talk about school shootings further. So many topics to choose.
So, Rob, what I hear is you're contemplating whether you should talk about the evils of corporation, school shootings. There's so many topics you could choose from.
And yet I think they are actually, thank you, yes. And I think they are actually both related to each other. And it really comes back to why we're doing the work that we're doing, which is to help create a more understanding, empathetic world, and maybe return us to a place that we've never been. But to power up, strengthen the empathy skills. And I think, as Roger was saying earlier, starting in schools with kids, and helping role model empathy and help them understand their own gifts to be empathetic. I'll pause there.
Thank you. So you realized after this little short contemplation that, you know, both the corporate world and the, you know, this world of violence and shootings, they're interrelated. And it comes back to why, you know, to create a more empathic. They both come under the, you know, can both be helped under this umbrella of empathic awareness, communication, to return to where we've never been, to strengthen empathy within each individual. This is why here, this can be done in schools by us acting as role models, you know, expressing empathy, helping others to feel heard, to feel as though they are being understood.
I actually love that phrase, return to where we've never been. I just wrote that down. I need to use that. We just co-created that, Ruth.
So, Rob, what I hear is that I think you're going to reuse that word you just came up with creatively to return to where we've never been. You loved it, and you will use that again.
Yeah, but it is ultimately for both of those. You know, the challenges in school is a big mental health issue, and there's gun access issues as well. But to Roger's point about, you know, what happened to that child, that he felt his only way out was to, or the thing that he needed to do was go and commit violence. And then you have, you know, corporations and organizations where the old ways of doing things, where you show up and you join the army basically, and it's a certain way of being and doing, and you lose your individuality, and you're not allowed to show up and be present. I think those are all related, and it's that lack of skills and understanding, and we have a lot of work ahead of us.
Okay, you said so many wonderful words there, Rob. I'm going to do my best to repeat that back in the best way I can. But ultimately, yeah, it's so challenging, the health and the mental health issue regarding the violence. You know, what happened, like Roger was saying, you know, what happened to that child, that he felt the only way he was able to get out of his emotional state was to go out and commit violence, you know, and goes back to the corporations, the old way of doing things, the mentality, you know, go join the army, a certain way of being and doing, not allowed to be yourself, not allowed to voice our, you know, who we are, and for others to acknowledge who we are. And hopefully we can, you know, spread skills that, you know, we're all lacking, you know. I mean, we're all in the learning curve of trying to understand ourselves and everybody else around us.
Yes, I feel fully heard. Thank you.
Wow, it's remarkable. All right, popcorn time for 2 minutes. You've got 2
Yep,
minutes.
2 minutes, now close the rooms, take us all back. We had thought of going longer, another 15 minutes, but I'm sensing that after 4 hours, it's about time.
It's a lot.
It's a lot. So having this circle is a bit shorter. I think I appreciate that.
I would second that proposal.
Mhm.
I think about 15 minutes shorter on the circle, especially if there's only a small group, we kind of
Yeah.
cover a lot.
Yeah, we try to have, I put 6 people in each circle, and then I can see people are dropping out of some of the other groups, and yeah.
So who should we be looking forward to next week?
It's all on the website. There's a whole, if you go to the Empathy Summit site, there's a schedule, and we have a packed house again, same amount, and then the third one too. And then we've been putting together the fourth one on February 3rd, I think it is.
Yeah.
Are you
Yeah.
are you gonna have conferences at the Empathy Center as well, like on
Yeah.
people who?
Yeah, we've got a big space. We have a big chapel. We've got dining room, kitchen facilities. If you go to the empathycenter.org, you'll see it's a lot of facilities, 55,000 square feet. But let me
You're gonna-
close the room. Any final comments before I close the rooms?
I'm just grateful to meet all of you and hear your words of wisdom. It's amazing. Thank you so much for this opportunity, Edwin.
Thank you.
And
Thanks.
everybody, yeah, thank you.
Thanks for facilitating, Ruth. It's good when somebody facilitates in the circle while I'm doing other things, managing stuff. So here
Don't
we
look
go.
at this man behind the.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's so-
Yeah, don't look at so okay, well you can leave now, or you'll be brought back in 50 seconds. I guess I'll head over. See you all.
see you in the main room.
We're back.
Amen.